You know that gap, that narrow little space between your stove and your kitchen counter. You've probably glanced at it 100 times and looked away just as fast. Maybe you've told yourself you'll deal with it later. Maybe later has been going on for 2, 3, even 5 years now. Well, today is the day we finally deal with it. Because here's what most people don't realize. That gap isn't just collecting a little dust. Over time, it becomes one of the most disgusting spots in your entire home. Grease from cooking, crumbs from breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sticky drips from sauces, oils, and drinks. All of it slowly builds up, layer by layer, until what's sitting in that space isn't just dirt, it's years of hardened, baked-on gunk that most cleaning sprays can barely touch. And the worst part is, you can't really see it until you start cleaning it. That's what makes it so unsettling. But here's the good news, and this is the part that's going to make your day. You don't need expensive tools. You don't need to call anyone. You don't need to get down on your hands and knees and scrub until your arms give out. Everything you need is probably already sitting in your kitchen right now. I'm going to walk you through this entire process step by step in plain, simple language. And by the time we're done, that gap is going to look like it did the day your kitchen was first installed. Stick with me, because there's one step in the middle of this process that most people skip entirely, and it's the step that makes everything else actually work. The problem explained. Let's talk about what's actually happening in that gap, because once you understand it, the method makes total sense. Every single time you cook, tiny particles of grease and steam escape from your pans and pots. That grease doesn't just disappear into the air, it lands on every nearby surface, including that narrow space between your stove and counter. At first, it's just a thin, barely there film. You wouldn't even notice it. But then the next meal happens, and the next, and the next. Each layer of grease traps whatever falls on top of it. Breadcrumbs, cereal pieces, bits of onion skin, sugar that's spilled from the bag, salt, coffee grounds. The grease acts like glue, and everything sticks to it. Then the heat from your stove bakes it all together over time, turning what was once just a sticky residue into something that's hard, dark, and almost cement-like. That's not an exaggeration. If you've ever tried to wipe that area with a damp paper towel and gotten nowhere, it's because heat has literally cooked that gunk into the surface. Now, here's the part that really gets people. That buildup doesn't just look bad, it actually holds on to bacteria. It can attract small insects, and if enough grease accumulates near the heat source of your stove, it can even become a minor fire hazard over time. This isn't about being a neat freak. This is genuinely about keeping your kitchen healthy and safe. The reason most people never fully tackle this area is simple. It feels awkward to reach. The usual cleaning products don't seem to do much, and there's no obvious right way to do it. So it keeps getting pushed off. Until today. What you need. Before we get into the steps, let me go over everything you'll need. I want you to feel fully prepared before you start, because half the frustration of any cleaning project is stopping halfway through to go find something. The good news here is that everything on this list is inexpensive and widely available. Most of it you likely already own. You'll need white distilled vinegar, the regular kind you can find in any grocery store for just $1 or $2. You'll also need baking soda, the standard box variety. Next, grab some dish soap. Any brand works, though something with a grease cutting formula like Dawn is especially helpful here. You'll want a spray bottle, which you can get at any dollar store or pharmacy. Pick up a few old toothbrushes as well, because these are absolutely invaluable for getting into tight spaces, and we'll be using one extensively today. You'll also need a few microfiber cloths or old cotton rags. Paper towels are fine for wiping up, but a cloth gives you more control when scrubbing. Finally, grab a butter knife or a thin plastic spatula and a few rubber bands or a piece of plastic wrap. That's it. No specialty cleaning products, no industrial strength chemicals, nothing that's going to cost you more than a few dollars or irritate your skin or lungs. Everything here is gentle, effective, and completely safe to use around your kitchen counters, your appliances, and yourself. Now let's get into the actual cleaning process. Step-by-step process. Step 1. Prepare your cleaning solution. The first thing we're going to do is make our cleaning solution, and I want to explain why this particular combination works so well, because it's not magic, it's simple chemistry that's been used in homes for generations. Fill your spray bottle about halfway with warm water, then add 3 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar. The vinegar is acidic, which means it's excellent at breaking down grease and dissolving mineral deposits and sticky residue. It cuts right through the kind of buildup we're dealing with in that gap. Now add just a few drops, no more than half a teaspoon, of dish soap. The soap helps the solution cling to vertical and angled surfaces instead of just dripping away. It also gives you that extra grease-cutting power, especially for the heavier spots. Put the cap on your spray bottle, give it a gentle shake to mix everything together, and set it aside for a moment. We'll be using this throughout the whole process. Step 2. Clear the area and do a dry removal first. Before you spray anything, you want to do a dry pass first. This is the step most people completely skip, and it actually makes a huge difference. Take a butter knife or the thin edge of a plastic spatula and very gently run it along the top edge of the gap, along the counter surface and the side of the stove. You're not trying to dig anything out yet, you're just loosening the top layer so that when we apply our solution, it can actually penetrate down instead of just sitting on top of hardened debris. As you do this, you'll probably be a little shocked at what comes loose. Dried crumbs, little hardened pieces of who knows what, maybe even a wayward coffee bean from 2019. Don't be embarrassed, this happens in almost every kitchen. You can use a thin piece of cardboard or a folded piece of paper to kind of sweep these loosened pieces toward you and throw them away. Now, take your vacuum cleaner, even a small handheld one works perfectly here, and run the nozzle along the top of the gap to pull out whatever you just loosened. If you don't have a vacuum handy, you can fold a damp paper towel into a thin strip and use it to wipe along the top surface of the gap to collect loose debris. The reason this dry step matters so much is this. If you spray your cleaning solution directly onto a pile of dry crumbs and grease, the solution gets absorbed by the debris instead of working on the actual surface underneath. By clearing out the loose material first, you're giving your cleaner a direct path to the gunk that's really stuck. It's like clearing the weeds before watering the garden. Now we get to the satisfying part. Take your spray bottle and generously spray the cleaning solution along the entire gap, both sides and as far down as you can reach. You want the solution to drip down into the gap and sit there. Don't wipe it yet. This is important. You need to give it time to work. Here's the part most people miss. Let the solution sit for at least 10 full minutes. If the buildup is really heavy and dark, give it 15. Set a timer if you need to. Go do something else. Make a cup of coffee, sit down for a few minutes, check your phone. There's no benefit to staring at it. While the solution is sitting, the vinegar is doing its job. It's slowly reacting with the grease, softening it and breaking down the hardened layers. This is the difference between scrubbing yourself half to death trying to remove something dry versus wiping away something that's been softened, night and day. Step 4, the baking soda boost. After your 10 to 15 minutes are up, here's where we add a little extra power to the process. Sprinkle a thin line of dry baking soda directly along the top of the gap, wherever you can see that the buildup is thickest or darkest. You're going to see it fizz slightly when it hits the vinegar solution that's already soaking in there. That gentle fizzing action is exactly what we want. The fizzing action lifts loosened gunk upward toward the surface, which makes it dramatically easier to wipe or scrub out. Leave this to fizz for about 2 to 3 minutes. You don't need to do anything during this time. Just let the chemistry happen. Step 5. Scrubbing with the toothbrush. Now it's time to get in there, and this is where your old toothbrush becomes your best friend. Take the toothbrush and, working from the top of the gap downward, start scrubbing along both the counter edge and the side of the stove. You don't need to press hard. Because the solution has already softened the grease, you're really just coaxing it away from the surface. Use small, circular strokes and rinse the toothbrush periodically so you're not just pushing the same gunk around. Work your way along the entire length of the gap. Pay extra attention to the bottom edge of the gap where the counter meets the floor level of the stove, because that's usually where the heaviest buildup sits. Grease drips downward and settles. As you scrub, you'll notice the toothbrush picking up dark brownish residue. That's the grease and gunk releasing from the surface. It's one of those oddly satisfying moments. Keep going until the color coming off the toothbrush starts to lighten. Step 6. Wipe down and rinse. Take a damp microfiber cloth or cotton rag and wipe along both sides of the gap and the surrounding counter surface thoroughly. You're pulling away everything that the solution loosened and the toothbrush scrubbed up. Rinse your cloth, wring it out, and do a second pass, then a third if needed. You want to make sure all the vinegar, baking soda, and dissolved grease residue is fully removed. Leaving any cleaning solution behind can cause a sticky film to form, which would actually attract more gunk faster. For those hard-to-reach spots at the very bottom of the gap, fold your cloth tightly or wrap it around the handle of the butter knife to get more precise contact with the surface. Once you've wiped everything down, do one final pass with a clean, dry cloth to dry the surface completely. Moisture sitting in a gap like that can encourage mildew over time, so drying it out at the end is a step worth taking. Final results. Stand back and take a look. The difference is going to be remarkable, and I want you to really take a moment to appreciate it, because you earned this. Where there was dark, sticky, layered-up gunk that had been there for years, you now have a clean surface. The counter edge looks like a counter edge again. The side of the stove looks like an appliance, not a grease trap. But here's the thing about results like this. The satisfaction isn't just visual. There's a real sense of peace that comes from knowing that space is truly clean. You're not walking past it and averting your eyes anymore. You're not telling yourself, I really should deal with that. You dealt with it today with things you already had at home. A lot of people are surprised by how the rest of their kitchen looks a little better after cleaning this one area. It's one of those spots where the grime is so normalized that you stop noticing it until it's gone, and suddenly you realize how much it was bringing the whole kitchen down. Maintenance tips. Now that you've done the hard work of a deep clean, keeping it this way is actually very easy. A few simple habits will prevent years of buildup from happening again. Once a week, take a damp cloth or even a damp paper towel and run it along both sides of that gap. You're catching fresh grease deposits before they have a chance to harden. A 10-second weekly wipe is worth infinitely more than a 30-minute deep clean every few years. Once a month, give the gap a quick spray with your vinegar solution and let it sit for just a couple of minutes before wiping. This dissolves any fresh grease film that the weekly wipe might have missed. You can also cut a thin foam weather stripping strip, available at any hardware store for just a few dollars, and press it lightly into the top of the gap as a temporary filler. This doesn't seal it permanently, but it stops large debris from falling down into the space between wipe downs. Just remember to remove and replace it periodically. And whenever you clean your stovetop, make it a habit to spray and wipe the edge of that gap at the same time. Make it part of the same routine. Once it becomes automatic, you'll never have to do a deep clean like today's again. If you made it to the end of this video, congratulations! You now know how to tackle one of the most overlooked and honestly one of the most satisfying deep clean jobs in the entire kitchen. That gap between the stove and the counter doesn't have to be a mystery or an eyesore anymore. You've got the method, you've got the supplies, and now you've got proof that it actually works. I want to hear from you. Did you try this today? How many years of buildup did you find in there? Drop a comment below. No judgment, because some of these gaps have genuinely shocking stories to tell, and you are absolutely not alone. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people just like you find this channel and finally get the simple, honest cleaning guidance they've been looking for. And if you don't want to miss what's coming next, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a new video. Because speaking of what's coming next time we're going after another hidden kitchen nightmare that most people never think to clean until it becomes a real problem. I'll give you a hint. It's above your head, it's been collecting grease for years, and it's something you walk under every single day. You're not going to want to miss that one. Until then, go clean that gap. You'll be glad you did.